All right. Grace, mercy, and peace from him who is and was and is to come very soon, I'm certain. This is Rogue Diabetic, and welcome to the digital wilderness. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have heard or not yet, but apparently Justice Stephen Breyer is resigning effective the end of this term, this Supreme Court term. So this is going to make so Sleepy Joe is going to get to pick a new Supreme Court justice. Now, I'm going to cover this on YouTube because I think it's something that I can probably still not get struck for. Because I can avoid certain topics on the one hand, and but still, try to show you guys what a crock of shit all of this is. How ridiculous and stupid it is. I used to work as a paralegal. I hold an Associates of Applied Science in Legal Assisting awarded with distinction. Okay? And I used to be into all this, into politics and the law. And I covered the Kavanaugh nomination quite extensively on an old YouTube channel, on my Twitter that doesn't exist anymore. I tweeted about it. I posted on Facebook about it. So this is actually a topic that I know a little bit about, and that, like I said, that I think that I can talk about without getting into too much trouble. So this is my take on this. What's going to happen? What's likely going to happen? And this came out of like the second they started to form up this narrative. The second that Breyer announced, or that it was announced that Breyer was going to retire, even before I think he had officially gone out and with the president and said that he was going to retire. That Biden is going to nominate a black woman to be on the Supreme Court, because apparently that was something that he promised to do while he was on the Supreme Court, or if he was elected. During the election campaign, he promised that he would nominate a black woman. Now, I don't know why that would mean anything. I don't know why that would motivate anybody to vote for him or not to vote for him. I mean, me personally, because it's not like the white guys are on the Supreme Court or doing anything to protect my interests just because they're white men. So I don't know why anybody would think that any black woman would think that just because a black woman, that somehow that person would necessarily do anything to advance the interests of black women. Okay, but nonetheless, that was something that he promised, and it's something that he's indicated that he intends to follow up on. So this leaves, and this is this has created an interesting scenario, and I'm just going to read a little bit from an article. Well, first of all, I'll read you a question. This is a question from Quora. In the event that a president nominates the vice president to fill a Supreme Court vacancy if the confirmation results in a tie. The confirmation vote results in a tie. Who breaks it? So, as we all know, Kamala Harris is the vice president, and Kamala Harris is the vice president, and she's black, and she identifies as a woman. So you could say too that she identifies as black, because there's some controversy over whether she's actually really black or maybe more like Indian or something. I don't know. I don't even care. That's not even the point. That's not even something that we should be looking at. I mean, if this were like, if any of this was real, then we wouldn't be looking at people's skin color to determine whether they would make, or their gender even, to determine whether they would be a Supreme Court justice. Okay, we'd be looking at whether we'd be looking at their qualifications. So, but as you know, none of this. They set that whole thing up so that someday people like me and Trump supporters, and I'm not a Trump supporter, but I used to be, would like go onto YouTube and be like, well, this doesn't make any sense, right? Then they could attack anybody. Then they could attack anybody that might not think that a certain Supreme Court justice was qualified or that they weren't impartial. Okay, because judges are supposed to be impartial. Okay, they're supposed to be able to set aside their political views and their personal views and look at the Constitution, and the Supreme Court justice, look at the Constitution and decide whether the rule of law was followed in a particular court case, and if the statute that it's based on is in conformity with the Constitution. Okay, and theoretically, if any of this was real anymore, if we still had a Constitution, that would be a real important job. But this has all gotten to the point where it's all theater. It's all nonsense. So, with respect to the question, in the event that a president nominates the vice president to fill a Supreme Court vacancy, if the confirmation vote results in a tie, who breaks it? I wouldn't see any reason why it wouldn't be the vice president. I mean, that's politics. Now, I could see back in olden times, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, for sure, 40, 50 years ago, where I could see people, if a president did something like that, nominated their own vice president to fill a Supreme Court vacancy, I could see people objecting from the president's party or from the party who the president wasn't a part of, just on the basis that typically speaking, they were looking at people that weren't, the judges, like I said, that were impartial and not political. So I could see that as a basis not to vote for confirmation. But on the question of if it's a tie, who breaks it, then, I have to check it again, because the Constitution makes the president, the vice president, the Senate. The vice president, the president of the Senate. And I think there's something specific in the Constitution that actually stipulates that in the event of a tie, they break the tie. Now, that might just be a rule that they made, because the rules of the Senate aren't necessarily dictated by the Constitution. So, but if it's in the Constitution that she gets to break, she gets the vice president breaks the tie on a tie vote, then that's it. So, but they're like, this is an interesting scenario because um, basically after this I googled uh, Biden going to pick Kamala Harris to fill the Supreme Court vacancy. Right? What I googled is Joe Biden going to nominate Kamala Harris. Okay, so there's two headlines. No, Joe Biden isn't nominating Kamala Harris to SCOTUS. That's CNN. And then Politico, sorry, fan fictions. Right? Okay, so CNN and Politico are basically openly mocking this at this point. But the New York Post said it could be credible. Speculation ramps up that Harris could be Biden's Supreme Court pick. So it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter at all if this happened. If this scenario actually played out. I mean, they could do a lot. They could get a lot of mileage out of this, and CNN would just like act like they never said that. They never flatly denied that Kamala Harris is going to be nominated. CNN and Politico could just like 180. Well, I guess we were wrong, huh? And but right now they're mocking basically conspiracy theorists. Okay. Because the New York Post is kind of a right-leaning tabloid. Now, the interesting thing about the article from the New York Post is that Kayleigh McEnany and Harris Faulkner, and Harris Faulkner is a black woman lawyer. I mean, maybe they could maybe Joe could nominate her for the Supreme Court. But that won't happen. Kayleigh McEnany is the Trump's last press secretary. And Faulkner Harris, is that her name? I want to make sure I'm getting that right. Is it Biden has repeatedly the improbable idea was floated by co-host Harris Faulkner. They misspelled her name. Okay, so Harris Faulkner and McEnany are co-hosts of this Fox News show. So anything that's being pushed by them is going to be mocked. So it's hard to tell where they're going with this. If this is what they're really gonna do. I mean, 10 years ago, this would be like, if you spun out such a scenario to me, I would have been like, highly unlikely that this would ever even happen. That we're ever even going to have to worry about whether a vice president is going to have to vote on their own confirmation. Right? Because why would you do that? Why would you do the most controversial thing that you could possibly do to the Supreme Court? Why wouldn't you just find some other qualified black woman? Or just try to find the best person? Okay, but that's like, so it's kind of interesting. Maybe they are going to do this. I don't know. You guys tell me. You tell me what you think. The scenario that I was like starting to formulate in my head went more like this, that they were going to find the stupidest fucking black woman that they could find. Just somebody that's like a black woman lawyer and maybe even a judge, but that's just like plumb stupid, right? Because that's what they do. They find the stupidest people. They find the stupidest black women that they can find. This has always been the game that the left has played. This has always been in their playbook. They find the stupidest insert minority, right? Black woman, black man. And I'm not saying all black men or all black women are stupid. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I'm just saying they find the stupidest ones that they can find, right? Then they put them on the Supreme Court. And then the Republicans won't vote against them because, or the Republicans will support their nomination because they don't want to get called a racist, right? And the ones that don't support their nomination are called racist, regardless of whether they have perfectly valid reasons for not wanting to support the nomination. So, but this is interesting because this sets up this could be like a very divided. I mean, you could see something crazy like this happen, right? Because I'm sure every single or they could have like they've got these Democrats, Sinema from Arizona, and Joe Manchin, that like apparently voted against the Democrats a couple times over the past year or so. So they could have like all sorts of major drama. And they could use this thing to distract everybody for months now. Okay, they've got the Ukraine thing. And then in the background, they're starting to wind down one narrative regarding this one narrative. They're starting to wind down a sub-narrative of the main narrative of the center ring of the three-ring circus. And so while they're setting up to ramp up the next sub-narrative, the next variant of the narrative, of the main narrative, the novel narrative, they can have these two other rings going on with the Supreme Court nomination and the whole Ukraine-Russia thing. Which, I mean, that's like, I say let them have it. I say let them have Ukraine if they want it. I mean, that's just me personally. But that's all. But what's going on there? I don't even know what's going on in the Ukraine thing. Who knows what's all like going on there? That could be a simple distraction. Or that could be something that they're just going to kind of keep in the background for a while. And then it'll turn into something else. Like potentially the destruction of Babylon. But anyway, you guys, let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe. Click the notification bell. This might be something that I can get away with talking about on YouTube. If you want to listen to some of my more substantive stuff about stuff that's really matters, that you can't talk about, then you're going to have to check me out on BitChute. My channel over there is Rogue Diabetic. So I love you guys. Don't take the mark. Okay? Tell Jesus you're sorry for your many grievous sins. Okay? Believe in Jesus. I'm out.